Welcome to a new edition of Design for the Times. I'm your host, Richard Christopher Scuderi. Well, I'm very happy to have someone in studio who's probably going to win the award for traveling to my studio, probably the furthest and putting the most effort into it. And his name is Bill Scott, and he's with Remax Imperial in Hazlet, New Jersey.
Right. Good to see you again, Richard.
Welcome to our show. You must be tired from all that traveling.
Now I'm energized. I'm ready to go.
He's a trooper. He came down today from Washington, D.C. this afternoon, and he's on time and on schedule. So if you're looking at a realtor, this guy's going to do whatever it takes to get into his commitments, which is a very good thing. So, Bill, we've talked before. We know each other for a long time, and we did the radio broadcast, I guess maybe about a month or so ago,
Right.
talking about something that I find really interesting, and that is the shore market. Growing up as a kid, I found living in New Jersey, most people were fortunate enough to have a house somewhere in the state, typically northern New Jersey, because their parents worked in Manhattan or a more industrial area. And then a lot of my neighbors did have a small shore house, typically in the Point Pleasant, Seaside Heights area.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, times changed. The shore became more expensive. There's a good train line down the shore, and people were moving down the shore as more full-time homes. Sort of the 80s came, the 90s came, and so on.
Certainly.
And then I think things changed with the shore in general. How did you get started? Because I know you come from, I guess, sort of Virginia or the D.C. area. How did you get involved with selling real estate in the Jersey Shore? How did that come about?
Well, I actually moved down to the shore in 1997 working for a large corporation, but always sold real estate on the side. And then in 2006, decided to pursue the career full-time.
Do you think selling shore real estate is different than selling real estate inland? Is there something different to it?
There's definitely a different flavor to it, nuance. I love selling the shore in these months, winter and spring, because you tend to get a little better price for your customers.
Sure, I would imagine you would. I would probably I would say the best time is probably to sell is like probably right after Christmas in the doldrums of winter, because by the time it closes, you're going to be in that spring, right? And then if you're doing any prep work, you're set for summer.
Exactly, and I'm always emphasizing with my builders the need to have the projects completed in March and April so that the people get all three holidays, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day at the shore.
Exactly. And what we're going to talk about with your specific real estate, whether you sell real estate all over New Jersey, but we're talking about the Bayshore. And I think people need to know about the Bayshore. You know, once you get past, I would say probably the Hook and you go down, if you're waterfront, it's very expensive. And some people, I think, feel that, especially for a second home, it's unattainable. But that's not necessarily true, is it?
No, Sandy Hook and South is really the entranceway, the gateway, if you will, to the Jersey Shore.
Sure, right.
The real value area is where I'm selling, and we call it the Bayshore region. And
Right.
It really goes from Perth Amboy down to the Highlands and Sandy Hook.
And there's a lot of area of beach. There's a lot of wonderful area of exactly that Bayshore. And I want to start for people that are unfamiliar with the geography of the area. Just about, growing up, I grew up in New Brunswick. So in New Brunswick, we had the Raritan River, right, coming through. So the Raritan River sort of runs into, I guess it opens up, we're like in Lawrence Harbor. Where does it kind of open up in that general area?
Yeah, in that a little bit north of there, in the Amboys. So really, the Perth Amboy is the start of the Bayshore region,
right, and the word
in Raritan Bay.
Right, the word Perth actually means port. So the opening, or where it became Raritan Bay, was that Perth Amboy, and I guess that's where ships came in and so on. And then if you trickle down a little bit from the Amboys, Perth Amboy, South Amboy, what would be the next sort of first northern town that would be on the Bayshore?
That would be Keyport, which is a great historic port.
Where your office is.
Exactly. We have an office there, as well as Hazlet and Union Beach. But wonderful restaurants in Keyport. Still has that kind of maritime feeling to it.
Wonderful. And I would imagine from there, and I'm going to do that, I really want to take a day to myself, maybe before the season, and go down from Keyport and then drive those towns and walk that area. So in Keyport per se, is there an area where there's a sandy beach?
Not a sandy beach, but the downtown waterfront has wonderful piers that you can fish off of.
Oh, wonderful.
Tremendous restaurants overlooking Keyport Harbor, very scenic.
And you're what, 10 miles from, or 10 or 12 miles from Sandy Hook, where you can swim in the ocean?
Exactly. So it's very convenient, and right off Garden State exit number 117.
And so close to northern New Jersey and other areas, Staten Island, the boroughs, even Manhattan. So if you trickle down a little bit further from Keyport, what would be the next sort of sandy beach?
Next would be really Union Beach, which is
Okay.
directly south of Keyport. Some wonderful bathing beaches. The Raritan Bay is extremely clear.
Wonderful. And probably a lot of boating, right, in Raritan Bay?
A lot of boating, wonderful marinas in Keyport, and again, a bunch of fishing, crabbing. Everything you think about on the Jersey Shore is in the Bayshore.
But not necessarily here. You're waterfront, but you're not necessarily top, $1 million properties per se. Although maybe they do exist, but
Well, that's right. But in general, and that's really the key, has been, at Point Pleasant and below, you need $1 million or more to look at the water.
water, yeah.
And in the Bayshore, we're selling homes from $400,000 to $500,000 with New York City views.
Right. I mean, is there anything better? Did you ever walk on the Sandy Hook beaches and you take a really long walk and you get, sometimes it can be very reflective, and then you turn around and New York, you're looking at New York. I mean, what's better than that, right?
Oh, sure.
Also, I think the hardest thing today is, I think even from the time that we were growing up to now, life has just gotten tougher and more complicated. If you were fortunate enough to have a second house or bringing children down the shore, it's such a short commute.
It really is.
Yeah.
And whether you're coming from Staten Island, the outer bridge crossing really dumps out in the Amboys.
Right.
And you're there on the bay.
You're in that Raritan Bay. So where's Monmouth Beach in conjunction to that? Is that further south?
Yeah, that would be further south,
Okay.
past Long Branch, around the Hook.
And Monmouth Beach has a kind of a nice sandy beach, as I understand.
Yeah, beautiful beaches, wonderful beach community, and true year-round community down there.
Right, very nice. So probably nicer homes, in fact, that they are year-round and so on.
Yes, and much more expensive too.
Yeah, well, as you go, I guess as you go progressively south, that happens.
Yes.
So then after Monmouth Beach, what would be the next? Would that be the Atlantic Highlands?
So you would come to the Belford area of Middletown.
Now, Belford, is Belford where the first, there's a lot of spots on the northern Jersey Shore where they have the ferry, but is Belford the first spot for the ferry?
Yes, so you've got the C Street Ferry there, a wonderful ride, 45 minutes, and you're in Manhattan. Goes all year round, so when it gets cold, there's quite a lively bar section in there
Oh, yeah.
for everyone to relax on their way home.
Exactly.
And when the weather's nice, it's just a spectacular way to commute.
I did it once in October. I had a doctor's appointment. Instead of going north with all that traffic and congestion, I went south. I went to Belford. I got onto the ferry there. It was a double-decker. It was a beautiful day in October. You go under the Verrazano Bridge. It was just fantastic. It was really nice.
And very affordable. I have many friends and clients that use it to commute, and with the monthly pass, you're actually under $40 a day.
Parallel sometimes to the bus, which is just
Right.
amazing with what you have to do, and really wonderful. So then after Belford, it goes down to then, is it?
Then you hit the Highlands. You
All
hit
right, so-
Atlantic Highlands, and you finish at the Highlands.
Oh, so it goes going to sort of where the bridge is, where you go over to where you're now at the ocean. It's Highlands, Atlantic Highlands, or
Yes.
Atlantic Highlands, Highlands?
Yeah, so coming north to south is Atlantic Highlands, Sandy Hook. So the
Now-
bridge is really at Highlands.
Right, and just to let people know, sort of the highway that hugs the ocean, I guess parallel, that's 36.
Correct.
So if you were on 36 heading towards the shore, which would be south, if you went left, you would be following that bay and
Correct.
that water.
So you can get on Route 36 to what you were saying earlier at Keyport and drive and hit all those short towns we talked about.
which have restaurants and activities, the strip malls and things to get to, so it's not at all isolated. And I guess if you went on the other side of 36, and you get sort of really into Red Bank and
Correct.
really upscale areas. The Navasink is there, and it's lovely that side too. So there's a lot to do down there, isn't there?
There really is. And if you're an outdoor enthusiast, there's actually a bike trail, the Henry Hudson Trail, that parallels Route 36 from Keyport all the way down to Sandy Hook.
Nice.
A wonderful bike ride. People bring their towels and actually beach down there.
It's just a great place to be. And I see with the ferry there that if you were working in New York City every day, that's a doable thing to do.
Extremely. And it's, again, a wonderful way to commute.
And how nice it is when you get home and you really escape that New York City environment. Let's talk a little bit about Highlands and then Atlantic Highlands and Highlands, because it seems to me, I got off 36 and I went down towards, I guess that was Atlantic Highlands there,
Right.
and I saw a theater and I saw restaurants and I saw a lot of stuff there. It looks like that's up and coming, is it?
It really is thriving there. The restaurant scene,
What
there's
a cute town.
nice old movie theater. You can
Right.
kind of get the old concession, old feel, larger seats. A real experience down there and a lot going on.
And then, of course, you get right before the bridge, before you go to Sandy Hook, then you go to the Atlantic Highlands. And I'll say this, I probably say this on all my programs. I remember being 10 years old and picking where I wanted to go to the shore at my April birthday, and I was going down to bars, right? Because it's been there such a long time.
Sure.
And I think there's nothing better than, not that it's the best restaurant, but sitting on that dock outside there where the boats pull up, being at that beautiful new bridge they have, especially if it's sort of like twilight, and having a drink and dinner on that sort of dock there. It's really great, isn't it?
Absolutely. It gets quite crowded during the summertime, but very relaxing to watch the boats come up and down the river. Just enjoy the ambiance, the fresh air.
Right.
And then you look above, and that's the high rise that you and I actually looked at apartments. The East Point condos afford some spectacular housing.
Now, it can't be everyone. It just so happens that the one I went in, the gentleman had bought it. They were New York City people, and then he bought that as sort of a retreat. The floor that I was on, the view, I felt like I was an eagle overlooking New York Harbor. I could not believe the views. I think you had said on the radio show that's like one of the highest points.
Correct. Highest point, definitely in New Jersey.
Oh,
and
my
the
God.
building itself goes up 14 stories,
Right.
14 floors.
This was a high floor, and you just sort of looked over both sides of the hook, and you felt like you were in New York Harbor. It was fantastic.
It defines a panoramic view of and you see the Atlantic Ocean, Raritan Bay,
It's
New
just
York City. And again,
spectacular.
the 3 bedrooms there are going, in the 700,000s, but you can actually get 1 bedroom units there as low as $250,000. So still
What a
very
deal.
affordable.
And they have a beautiful pool there, by the way, too.
Oh, spectacular.
Okay.
It just is a wonderful property.
Now, you brought some, just to look at, all different things and the type of homes that you're selling and looking at. You brought some pictures. Maybe we could pull up the first image of talking about a home, a nice home, or what some of the shore homes look like. Now, what's the story of this one? It's a nice looking home. Did something happen after Superstorm Sandy? Was there some sort of regulation on new construction that you could not be at street level anymore when you build? What happened with that as far as the new codes with building and flood zone?
Right. So everything has to be above what they call the base flood elevation.
Okay.
So basically all your livable floors start at about 10 to 12 feet up.
10
so
to 12 feet? Okay.
the garage is a storage area.
Okay.
I think really the crown jewel in that Bayshore area is Union Beach, and
Okay.
that's where this house is located.
Nice looking house.
2,500 square feet. Again, we're encouraging the builders to use kind of the marine or some shade of blue
Right.
with the wide 5-inch white corners, and you see the sconces above the windows really set the property
And it looks
off.
like they finished in some sort of a stone or a faux stone finish on the ground level, which is kind of nice.
Right, and it makes a nice finish. There's actually some blue in it, and that's a 5-bedroom house.
Beautiful. What
Walk-up
price point?
attic for in the mid 400s.
And that's quite a house.
It's a substantial house that actually has water views off the front, looking right at the Victory
Wow.
Tower in New York.
Very nice. Let's go to the next shot. Okay, this is lovely. This is a rendering. Is this a proposed new construction, or is this built already?
So this is actually under construction now.
And what town is this in?
This is, and again, in Union Beach.
Mm-hmm.
This will be closer to the $500,000 price point.
What
But
a
again,
beautiful house.
4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, magnificent open kitchen, second floor laundry. Kind of checks off all the boxes of what the modern buyer is looking at. And I think the next shot will show you the decks overlooking the bay.
Oh, look at that. That's just gorgeous.
And they're actually coated with fiberglass for year-round use. And you're staring at, again, New York City, Keyport Harbor, nothing behind you except
It's sort of
salt
like a
marsh.
win-win. You always wanted to be close to Manhattan, and you always wanted to live down the shore. This kind of gives you, this is the place that gives you both.
It really is.
We should keep it to ourselves.
Well, everybody talks about branding these days, and I've kind of branded Union Beach as Point Pleasant North.
Right.
Because this was a town that was devastated. 80 to 85% of the homes were destroyed or wrecked, and they've come back building examples like these, and within 5 years, it's going to look like a Point Pleasant.
Who took the worst hit? Was it Union Beach? In that corridor, let's say from Staten Island down to the Hook, what town took the worst hit as far as water coming inland?
I think it was Union Beach. That iconic picture that they showed with half the house chopped off was
Yeah.
actually a home at the southern part of Union Beach.
Wow. But it seems after all this time that pretty much everybody's kind of rebuilt, huh?
It's in process, but we literally have 400 new housing starts going right now in this
Wow.
town of 2,000 homes.
Which is going to be nice to have all that beautiful new construction houses up to date, everything modern. I mean, it's going to change sort of the landscape and have a nice fresh look, I would imagine.
It really does.
Let's take a look at the next shot. Okay, so this is a rendering of sort of the style of building that they're doing there.
Right, and again, trying to stay with sort of the marine lighter colors.
Right.
This will be a house, again, almost...
Shutters, decks.
Right, on 5th Street. We'll have some water views off the rear of the home where
Also-
we've got a deck.
Now that they're building taller houses, because there are New York City views, that just makes it that much better. You had showed me a townhouse, and on the 3rd floor, the master bedroom overlooked, like you could see the Empire State Building. It was just magnificent.
Oh, yeah, and it gives you great storage underneath, 12-foot garage ceilings.
No,
so-
wonderful. So let me ask you a question. I think the one that you and I looked at, that first level there had sort of like a breakout wall. Does any of the buildings do that, where if water comes in, there's sort of like a breakout?
Yeah, so they're actually breakaway walls. We hope that there's never an event that was a once-in-a-lifetime storm. But in the
Sure.
case that now these homes are all supported by pillars, the walls are designed to break away. They're flood vents.
Is that
so
part of the code thing when they
Yes, yes. So the houses are going to remain intact.
built? Wow. Okay, is there another? I think that we have one or more, two more shots here. Okay, what is this?
This was actually up near the Amboys in Lawrence Harbor,
Okay.
and cute little shore colonial, Dutch colonial. But
Very nice.
the side shots are actually the views. And again, on a clear day, you're looking at New York City. This is up on a bluff, 20 feet, so it actually never got any water.
What
and
a great place to
supersands. So-
live full time if you had a boat.
Oh, tremendous. And the boat traffic there, the 4th of July fireworks there are just spectacular.
Yeah, you're not going to get better views. Like a house like this, but kind of just sort of a general price point.
So this is
would
a
you say?
small 2-bedroom, 1-bath that was we priced right under $300,000 and sold in a week.
With those views.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I think
Yeah.
we have one more shot. I think there's one. Okay, and this is, I guess,
So this was actually a finished house, and I threw this in. I wanted to get your opinion. I'm calling this the White Kitchen, but
Okay.
it was one of my builders on a Union Beach house, and the buyers elected to go with a white quartz with a real white backsplash, and I call it, they're not like you and I. They're height challenged people, so
gotcha.
they wanted no upper cabinets, just lowers. So I wanted to get your opinion, maybe your thoughts, and then how do we color this up or dress it up a little bit?
well, let me tell you a couple things about white kitchens. Although white kitchens have been in style for a very long time, and some people have always wanted a white kitchen, I think other things are also starting to come into the mix. The good thing about when you're planning your hard surfaces, it's kind of nice to go with the neutral color because you can always update it by what you bring in with your accessories. So having your kitchen be neutral is kind of a good thing. The tough thing is when you have an all-white kitchen, not all whites are equal, right?
Right.
So the color, and it's hard for me to tell here, but the color of the backsplash, which is there's a lot of backsplash because there's no upper cabinets, hitting the quartz, hitting the cabinets themselves, it seems like there's a lot of different whites. So a good way to balance that is to break that up with a surface with another shade of color, perhaps a gray or something else going on, so the purity of the different whites doesn't throw your eye off. Now, a lot of people do like no uppers because it's considered a popular look. I think it's a mistake. I think it's going to be short-lived because people really do need practical storage.
Right.
And I think there's nothing better than closed storage. Open shelving looks nice. How practical is open shelving? You have to think about, it's a place where you're cooking, so there are odors, there are greases, there are all sorts of things going on all the time in that space. I think there's a reason for closed storage. There's a lot of ways to insert glass, maybe seated glass, other things into those cabinets, change of color, change of the layout of the top cabinets to make things be visually interesting.
Right. I think the buyer's vision was to do some repurposed wood, a grayish type of wood, and store, open storage of plates where you'd be able to see the plates and maybe the contrast with the wood would work.
Let's talk about surfaces at the shore, outside and in, not only aesthetically, but in terms of practicality. I would think probably people would be using for new construction now where they're rebuilding that cementatious, the cement board, the James Hardy or whatever brand siding. Is that probably the most popular?
That's very popular.
What about cedar shakes? Now, I remember growing up in the 70s and 80s seeing all those beautiful houses in Bayhead and down the shore with cedar shakes. Are people using cedar shakes still, or are they using the cement board that looks like cedar shakes?
The cement board, and then the architectural vinyl tile has become a wonderful product. I mean, my mother's beach house in Rhode Island has those wonderful cedar shakes that you're talking about, and
so beautiful.
We repaint it every 3 or 4 years. The salt air tends to really chew it up, but these products now, with whether it be the architectural vinyl or the hardy board type surfaces, do wonderfully. I mean, you're literally just hosing or power washing them.
And then sort of vinyl clad windows, or some sort of a window that was clad that it just, you know, is sort of more impervious to the weathering of the environment.
Yes,
and
Anderson's got a great product. All my builders are pretty much Anderson window.
How about flooring? Are most people looking for a tile floor in a shore house?
They are. I'm still amazed at how many people still want the hardwoods. And,
really?
And you and I have discussed about if it's hardwoods, it's got to be hardwoods everywhere. We still get that demand.
Yeah, I love the look of hardwood floors, but I know even in my own environment, I noticed that if I have sand, when I go down to the shore, I like to hike. I like to take that time and walk on the beach, and I will walk on the beach for hours. Just the trapped sand that's under my sneakers when I go up to my office sometimes, I can really give a sanding to my area under my desk with that. So I don't think it's a good or practical surface for a shore house to have wood, to be honest.
No, but we're seeing more and more of the faux wood, I call it, the tile product, ceramic tile product that made to look like wood.
Right.
And that's a wonderful thing for the beach.
For a shore house, I think that's really the way to go. You know, for a long time there was that white sort of tile which showed everything. That wasn't a good solution. And then you were dealing with the grout. But the tile that looks like wood plank, I think, consistently throughout a space is probably the best solution.
Right.
And then when we're talking about cabinets, surfaces, you know, I don't know, are most of your clients right now looking for their summer house, or are they looking for their year-round house?
It's about a mix of 50-50. The white kitchen was very in vogue. We're finally starting to come off of that. I'm pushing, you know, per your influence, to really get some gray lowers or some sort of gray into the palette mix.
What about, or even blues? You know, blues are kind of nice with that. What about carpet? Do you ever see people wanting carpet if they have a second floor for bedrooms in a shore environment?
Occasionally. Most of the time, they'll upgrade to the hardwood floor.
Definitely throughout the space. And I think sort of the whole coastal design, you know, when I did the radio show today in Flemington, our topic today was coastal style. And, you know, not just at the Jersey Shore or the shore line in general on the east or the west coast, people love that look now of coastal. I think it can be done almost anywhere. Lots of navy, right? Crisp white, tans, that kind of thing. It's a nice clean look.
As I say, it's so clean and so refreshing to see that, you know, we're seeing it spread inland as well.
What about fireplaces? Are you see people requesting fireplaces down the shore?
We do, because many of these homes are year-round, or they're visiting during the summer. So obviously the gas fireplace is preferred, and we're 90% of the time that's what we're putting in.
Definitely. Do most people want a single-story house down the shore? Is there, if I was going to you and I would say, okay, I'm looking for, is there a consistency? Will people say, I want a two-story home, I want a bungalow, I want a ranch? Is there a type of house that people come to you, if I'm going to be in the northern part of the shore, the Bayshore, that I want a specific type of house?
Almost exclusively, we're still getting the requests for the two-story, just because so many people are using it as a year-round home.
Right.
Occasionally we'll get some downsizers that are more my vintage that are requesting the ranch, but you'd be surprised, it's really not that much in demand right now.
Are most builders, though, that are rebuilding after the storm clearly building a two-story house?
Yes, and a lot of that has to do with lot size. A lot of these shore towns have a lot of 50 by 100.
Right,
and
they
even-
have the long, narrow lots,
Right.
so to get your square footage in, you'd have to go up.
Exactly.
But you know, one of the things that we saw that made sense to me is that you're at the northern part of the shore and you have New York City views. The higher you build, those decks in the back, you're getting these great views. You're not going to get that in a ranch, are you?
No, and you're actually, those second floor decks are 30 to 35 feet off the ground.
That's pretty big.
It gives you just a stunning view.
In the Bayshore towns, what town would you say has sort of the best New York views? I guess it depends on what you're...
Yeah, Union Beach, definitely. Keyport, Belford, another great. Just not a lot of opportunity to build in Belford.
Ferry stops down there in the Bayshore. Is there one beyond Belford? Isn't there two or another one?
Yeah, there's one further south as well. So, but Belford is the one that really kind of services New York City and that whole region.
And then what's that ride, would you say, from the Belford Ferry? Is it a half hour?
Oh, not even. More
Oh,
like,
less.
Oh, yeah, 15, 20 minutes tops.
Right. And then I think the Belford Ferry stops in it stops in Lower Manhattan. Doesn't it go almost to maybe the Javits Center?
Yes, it goes up. It makes 2 stops, and that's the second one.
So if you're in Midtown or Upper Manhattan, you can also take that ferry, and that works well for you.
Right, and we've actually taken it up to the Javits Center for sightseeing or for events up there.
Does it stop at Jersey City too? Because a lot of people commute to Jersey City.
Different ferry goes from Jersey City.
Because there's C Street, and I guess there's other ferries.
Correct.
So listen, I've been remiss in doing this. How can people get in touch with you? Now is the perfect time, right? March is the perfect time. I don't know when this will air, hopefully very soon. But is it a little bit still slower now and starting to pick up pace to
Really
come out
starting
and spend time?
Really starting to pick up now, but the best way to get in touch with me is my cell phone, 732 832 1225. And then my email is very easy. It's my name, Bill Scott Realtor.
With
at
TT.
at yahoo.com.
What about a website for some of your listings?
So wescotthomes.net has got a bunch of the builders' properties on there to be built or some under construction now. So that's wescotthomes.net.
Is there anything that you're seeing when you go to these builders and they do something and you were kind of inspired style-wise, because our show is also about style, that you saw? Are people doing, like I remember in the 1970s, we would go to like a neighbor's house that had a shore house, and they always had like white rocks. Now we laugh at that.
Right.
What are people doing for a beachscape or some sort of landscaping that's more modern but is low maintenance? Are people doing grass? Are people putting grass in their front lawn?
No, what they're doing really is they've got some wonderful, they call them river pebble type, that's got the blues, the whites, some reds in there, and then great use of seagrass.
Yeah, I love
so
those
just
seagrasses.
blotches of seagrass around strategically, maybe to hide some of the posts. No maintenance, and it just gives a great look.
And that's what you want ultimately for a shore house, whether it's all year round or it's part-time, to be low maintenance.
Right.
Well, I thank you for being my guest. You have a wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure we'll be doing this again.